The bank charter seems to be taking its sweet time. Rumor has it that it will either be announced at the end of this year 2021 or at the beginning of 2022. In this video, we'll go over everything we know about SoFi's bank charter and whether or not it's leaning towards the end of this year or the beginning of next. Also, some recent news came out about the fintech space's worst enemy, Saule Omarova, and let's just say it's a good day to be invested in fintechs, specifically ones trying to get bank charters. Before we get into that though, let's hear it from the CEO of SoFi himself, Anthony the GOAT Noto, to see what he has to say about the bank charter and how far along it is.
This is the fight of our lives, and we're gonna win. Whatever it takes.
Well, there you have it, folks, right from the GOAT's mouth. For those of you who are new, welcome to Wealth Gambit. On this channel, we cover all things stocks, from stock news to fundamental analysis. Just a disclaimer, we are not financial advisors, so please always do your own due diligence. By the way, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on our social media pages to be updated on more stock news, market updates, and some awesome SoFi memes like this one. Also, shout out to all of you guys who've been commenting and liking these videos consistently. We made a Wealth Gambit Hall of Fame for the real OGs, so here's a quick shout out to all of you. Without further ado, let's get right into it. For months, we've all been waiting for the bank charter to be announced. It's like waiting for your favorite artist to get nominated for a Grammy and to finally get the recognition they deserve. So, how far is SoFi from their big day? Days before SoFi's Q3 earnings call, the acting Comptroller of the Currency, Michael Su, who's in charge of the bank charter applications, dropped some Easter eggs before the announcement of the bank charter approvals. According to his speech, fintech companies applying for bank charters, or what he calls the synthetic banking providers, should be regulated at a holding company level. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does that even mean? Well, let's start with defining what a holding company is and whether SoFi is qualified to become something like that. A bank holding company is a corporation with a controlling interest in one or more banks, but it doesn't offer banking services, and they don't run the daily operations of the banks they own. In simpler terms, holding companies may just be formed to hold the asset of subsidiaries, and it's not necessarily to produce any product or service. This is what SoFi plans to do with Golden Pacific Bancorp. The change of the control bank charter application will gain the control of said bank as a division of SoFi Bank. And once the acquisition is complete, SoFi intends to contribute $750 million of capital to GPB and still pursue the OG plan of disrupting the fintech industry with its one-stop shop business model. Big names like Bank of America, Citigroup, and JP Morgan Chase & Company are all operated by holding companies regulated primarily by the Federal Reserve. SoFi has applied for the perfect charter it deserves to become a full-service national bank. The preliminary approval was decided upon the fact that SoFi will apply for Federal Reserve membership and will obtain deposit insurance from the FDIC. As a bank holding company and as a bank, the OCC and the Federal Reserve, along with FDIC, will watch them like a hawk, and this is the compound effect of working on its losses to create huge results. On top of that, the regulators of our state have been deeply concerned about the rent-a-charter model for most fintech companies today. But Commander Noto and the rest of the SoFi execs came in clutch and managed to take licenses, gaining us favorable positions towards the grant of a bank charter. Because he was able to get what the OCC wanted when they planned to target fintech companies which are not within the regulatory perimeter. In addition to Michael Su's statement, a consolidated regulatory framework is also required to develop regulation on all subsidiaries, whether it's regulated or not, just to give you a picture of what the OCC wants to grant a national bank charter and make you decide whether Commander Noto is right on track. Here's what we got from their manual. As you can see, it's a little too general, but seeing how SoFi is constantly growing and how it fits the bill perfectly, we believe the bank charter is definitely on its way. The end of the year and the start of the next year is in the single-digit weeks, so probably closer than expected, but it's important to realize that with the bank charter being huge news, the positive news is probably already priced in. In our humble, non-financial advisor opinion, we actually don't think that the stock price will move that much from the announced approval of the bank charter. That being said, we think the stock price will probably move a lot more once the effects of the bank charter start to show themselves in the earnings, as it should basically boost almost all aspects of SoFi's business. That could then trigger a domino effect, causing analysts to do their happy dances and FOMO their other fellow analysts into positively covering SoFi, followed by increasing price targets, which could then trickle down throughout Wall Street and add significant buying pressure. So basically, bank charter approval announcements make stock go to the moon a little, but positive financial effects of bank charter approval announced during subsequent earnings make stock go to Jupiter. But again, that's just our best guess, so take it with a grain of salt. Now on another even more juicy note, the Kryptonite of the Fintech bank charter, aka President Biden's OCC nominee Saule Omarova, has herself been facing a rough patch as the Senate and other involved banking trade groups have been expressing their disapproval of this nomination to become the next head of the OCC. The anti-fintech nominee is said to be a strong proponent for government intervention in the financial system. According to sources, the following key points about fintechs are to be sought after if Saule Omarova takes over the OCC.
I think it is critical to ensure a level playing field so we protect the relational banking model from being decimated. And if I'm confirmed as the Comptroller of the currency, I would make sure that we do everything we can to facilitate community banks' ability to innovate responsibly, to join the technological progress without being gobbled up by those companies that actually do not play by the same rules and therefore have a greater advantage.
First, will the OCC grant a national bank charter that proposes to make loans but not take FDIC-insured deposits? For Saule, with these faster, cheaper, and easy to accomplish transactions of fintech companies, the state is more exposed to financial risks. Saule is also concerned with the virtual currencies and other digital assets that cause systemic risk. Saule Omarova was on the hot seat at her confirmation hearing last November 18th, and the public is still asking whether the nominee will assume the seat for the 5-year leadership term. It isn't looking too good for Saule, as news later came out that 5 Senate Democrats aren't in favor of Saule Omarova to hold the highest leadership in the OCC. That makes it very unlikely for Saule Omarova to become the chair of the OCC. And in breaking news that came out today, Saule Omarova, who was killing the fintech vibe for a little bit, recently just put in a letter that she would like to be withdrawn from the head of the OCC nomination. In a letter requesting her name to be withdrawn from consideration, Omarova called it an honor to be nominated by the president for the role. So, there you have it, ladies and gents. The fintech's Kryptonite has withdrawn her nomination to lead the office of the Comptroller of the currency. SoFi's bank charter approval seems to be sailing on calm seas now, and it appears to just be a matter of when they make the announcement. That's it for today's video, guys. Are you buying more SoFi today? And if so, how many shares? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe as it helps the channel out a lot. Also, if you want to see more from us, follow us on our social media platforms at Wealth Gambit, and until the next video, peace.